was saying, we are recording this session. We'll get the recording sent out to everybody within the next 24 hours. You'll receive an email from me, with some details about the session, Coach D's information, and also the recording of this session. And also feel free to, I will be monitoring the chat, so feel free to type your question. If it's appropriate, we'll ask Coach D at the moment. Is that okay with you, Coach D? Okay, and then if not, then we'll just wait till the end during the for the Q&A. And I thought of this this topic, and I met Coach D, and I said, you know what, blind spots is something that holds us back. And if you think that you don't have a blind spot, that's your blind spot, right? And I've been in this industry, sales and marketing for over almost 30 years. I started my company in 1998 in San Diego, so my company is 22 years old. And I've always thought about how do we perform better? How do I get my team to perform better? How do we get people to perform better? And I remember this story, that I experienced about 11 years ago. So I was going to a park, and then I was in Malaysia at the time, and in parks, right, we have the senior citizens, which I am now, I guess, right? And they like to do the Tai Chi, correct? I think we've all seen that, yeah. So I would walk around, and then I would watch the old ladies. I would watch the senior ladies, doing their Tai Chi. And then this is about 6 o'clock, 6:15 in the morning. So this goes on for like weeks and weeks. And then after I finish, I happen to finish my walk at the same time that they finish their Tai Chi practice, right? And so some of them started chatting because we sat in the same area. And then so to cut this a little shorter, what they were telling me is that they do the Tai Chi because they want to lose weight, but they're very disappointed because they're not losing weight. And so I kept that in my mind and go, how come they're not losing weight, right? Because they're doing the exercise, they're doing the movements, right? And so I having that in mind, I was walking the next few days, and I noticed that when before they start, if it's raining, they would use a rubber squeegee thing or that broom to push the water out from the space. It was like a basketball court, or if it wasn't raining, they would actually sweep the basketball court, so that it's not dirty when they start their lesson. And so going back to that conversation, a few days later, that entered in my head, but it didn't register anything yet. And so, a couple of days later, when I was talking to the ladies again, I said, "Are any of you losing weight?" And they said, "Yeah, her, and her. 4 of them were losing weight." And so that went into my mind again. And a few days went by, and then it rained earlier during the night, and then they were cleaning the water off or moving the water off the court, right? And it was those 4 ladies that were losing weight. Okay, and I watched, and it was the same 4 ladies that were sweeping the floor and getting the water off the court every single day. So they were all doing the same activity, but only 4 of them were losing weight, and they didn't know why, right? And it was the 4 ladies that was doing the extra work that were losing the weight. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is actually the definition of blind spot, right? You're all in that activity, you're all in that situation, and some people are achieving it, some people are not, and you don't know why you are not achieving that particular result. And it takes somebody from the outside looking in and observing over a period of time that can figure out why is this happening. And so with that, I want to introduce Coach D. Coach D has a very impressive and varied past, and he has been coaching for a number of years to individuals in China, in the US as well. And I met him several months ago, and I was really impressed with with the way that he carries himself, with his knowledge and his expertise. And I thought, hey, you know what? Why don't we have Coach D come on a session like this and share some information with other people. So with that, Coach D. I want to thank you for taking the time out, today and sharing the information. And we are, we're excited to listen to what you have.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. Of course, and I'm happy to be here with you guys.
You're cutting in and out.
Okay, Tabana.
That's better. Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and get started on your?
Yep. I think
Okay.
get started soon. Hey. Okay, how's that look, guys?
Looks good.
All right, great. So first of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. I know it's not, everybody's quite busy. So first of all, I want to introduce, in case some of you may not know me, my name is Dihan. And as Chris mentioned, for the past 16 years, I've been passionate about learning and teaching self-leadership.
Coach, you're cutting in and out on your audio.
Really? Okay.
You weren't using this earlier, right? The headphones.
Let me check it. How about now?
That's better.
Okay. All right. So as I mentioned, is that better, Chris?
Yes. It's still a little faint.
Really? Okay.
You know what? Everyone, do me a favor. If you can type in your chat, can you hear the audio clearly? Type yes or okay. Can hear but very soft. Coach, earlier when we were doing the test, what setup were you using for the microphone?
Okay. Is an earpiece, but how about now?
Okay, that's good. I think that's good. Can we get some feedback from everyone?
Oh, better?
Okay, I think that's better. Yes. Okay.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, people. Okay. So to get back, my philosophy about leadership is to first be able to lead yourself. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because when I was younger, okay, I know I may not look it, but when I was younger, okay, I blew it big time. And what I mean is that I lost a marriage, okay? I lost 3.5 companies and most of my finances. And worst of all, I lost all the fun, okay? I wanted to mention this, not to brag about it, but for you to understand where I'm coming from. Because most of these blind spots I talk about today, I had, okay? I had to go through some humble beginnings to get over myself and to move on. And by doing so, I was able to restart a new business, begin investing in stocks and property, and now I have a better relationship with my new as well as my old family. And yes, I did say old family, okay? I learned a lot along the way, and I hope to share with folks who may have had gone through the same experience or would love to learn how to improve in their lives. Okay? So hopefully by this we can, move on. How's that sound, guys? All right.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay. So blind spots can overlap in many areas of our lives. And so today we're going to take approximately about 45 minutes trip to briefly explore blind spots. And we'll be focused on personal behavior standpoint, not the medical one. Okay? And from the eyes of people in corporate world as well as entrepreneurs. So grab a notebook and a pen and hang out to the end because I have a little gift for you for hanging out with me today. Okay, guys? So our flight pattern is as follows. First, we're going to go through defining blind spots, cause of blind spots, behavior of blind spots, and cost in monetary and productivity of our blind spots, hoping to discover our blind spots and at the same time overcoming them. Okay? So the definition of blind spots is that it refers to the aspect of ourselves we aren't conscious of, as Chris mentioned earlier, right? This can refer to a broad spectrum of things from our traits, our values, behaviors, feelings, as well as thoughts. So right now, I want to ask you guys a question, or actually ask you a few questions, okay? And just type in the number for your answers. Number one, who would you want, if you look at the picture here, who would you want to talk business to? If I can trouble you to type number two. Great. Okay, so far number two. All right, so we're getting getting more number twos of anything. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, guys. All right. Second question. Who would be a good gamer? Just type in the number when you're free. Anybody? Who would be a good gamer? Like, play video games and things like that. Xboxes. Number three. Ooh, number one. Okay, so we got more ones than threes. Okay, great. All right. Now, depending on your gender, right? Who would be someone that you would go to for fashion advice? Annie, three. Thank you, Annie. Oh, Frank. Okay. Again, right? It depends on our gender, right? So if you're a male, you may ask number two, and if you're a female, you may ask number three, right? So that's really interesting. Okay. So why are blind spots important for us, right? Why are the behaviors are important? Okay. And why is it important for us to realize it? Just recently, in 2019, three men had just served a jail sentence of 36 years, and only in 2019 were released. They were arrested and served time for a murder they did not commit. Okay, the witnesses were mistaken in their minds because they were already angry, and they judged the men that they thought could do something like this, right? And so they were innocently guilty, although they were innocent, and they had to serve. They lost 36 years of their lives, right? And sadly, we hear this a lot, right? Thankfully, for DNA checking came along, it doesn't happen as often. And this is something that can happen anywhere in the world, right? Imagine, what if you felt like if you had to be a witness to a crime against someone you had a bad experience with, all right? So, of course, this is scary. This is probably something that's very rare that will happen. So, but what really happens more often is something a little bit closer to home, okay? So right now, let's take a look at blind spots, how they look like to your team if you're a leader or an owner of a business or a parent. Okay, so some of the behaviors of blind spots can come in the form of insecurity, okay? Individuals who feel insecure are probably quite dangerous and can really affect your lives as your career, okay? Insecure leaders hoard information, all right? They want enough information for you to work, and only they know what else is needed to get the job done right. Can you see the danger that would be in your career if your team's credibility for a successful collaboration, and not to mention the business? So if you had a manager, a leader, who was hoarding information and not, giving you enough information, how that can affect your credibility as a team player, right? Insecure leaders want everything to be a secret because it makes them feel powerful, right? And insecure leaders are afraid of you hanging out with other leaders. And can you imagine why? Because most of the time they don't want their weaknesses revealed, okay, to you by other leaders. All right. So this is all important, guys, because later we're gonna have to go check some of your own blind spots. All right. Ego. When you have an individual who has powerful ego, everything is let's save time and do it my way, right? Regardless what kind of meetings you can go through, whatever plan you had, right? Some people will argue, well, I'm confident. Well, that's just ego talking. And you know how you can tell? If someone is really confident, he or she doesn't have to boast about it, right? Remember, people often confuse ego with confidence. It's not the same. Can you imagine living or working with someone with this serious blind spot? Right? Leaders with big egos, they treat everyone as wrong and they're right. Leaders with big egos ask you to come up with something and then criticize it and then ask you to change all your ideas. Basically, they micromanage. Leaders are impatient, okay? Ego focuses on who's right instead of what's right. And at this time, I want to share a story that I was able to have the privilege to mediate in a three-way meeting with three partners, okay? And as they were negotiating how to change in the market and regarding the COVID and how they were losing business and they wanted to see how they can improve it. Well, one of the partners, they was insisting that things be done this way. And no matter how the other partners came in and said, wait a minute, but if we do this, all you can hear in the background is, no, just listen to me. I've been in the corporate world for over 10 years in a multinational company, and I know what the market wants. Okay? So it got to a point that they were arguing for basically an hour and a half. I really thought that, someone was going to just say quit and say, forget this, right? Okay? But, the partners were, of course, they were mature enough to let it go. But, the funny thing is that the partner that was strong was wrong. Okay. After 2 months, they realized that the market was not as they mentioned it was, and they were wrong. But they spent 2 to 3 months doing something that did not help. In fact, it hurt their business. Okay. So obviously the other partners were complaining and they're upset. And finally, we had to talk to the third partner and let her understand that, hey, every time we try to share with you, we had to basically make this blind spot open to her, help her to realize that. And when she realized this, her total mentality changed. Okay, the way she talked, she apologized, because before she would never apologize for her mistakes. And I would know because sometimes I would hear them talk, and it's really interesting. So ego never admits they're wrong or apologizes for their mistakes. Okay, and ego is interesting because a lot of it comes from past success. All right. So example, whether you were in high school, you were a student and got away with being very funny, you were a comedian. Okay. You joked all the time. Okay. Or was very popular. Maybe you were the jock of the school, right? Or Queen Victoria. And you were pretty. You were all, you got fame, right? And that's what a lot of people fall back on. Even as they pass high school, college, even in the workplace. They went to a company and they were very successful and the boss liked them. And even if you look at Jack Welch, okay, famous GE CEO, okay, but the problem is once he left, okay, he left for another company and tried to work for another company, but what happened? It didn't work out, okay? So what he was relying on his past laurels, hoping that what he did back then in GE would work for the same company that he was working for. Okay, so that's why ego can be very tricky, right? And a lot of times we fall into that trap when we get stressed, when we get tired. Okay, next one. Individualistic viewpoint. Okay, so an individualistic viewpoint is that basically you treat everything, you're a hammer and you treat everything as a nail. Okay, this blind spot reacts more when things don't go the way they expect to, and they say, let's just do it this way. All right, and then basically, you as a team member may realize that, hey, but it doesn't work. Okay, you're making us work harder. Well, we're not a hammer. We're used to being a screwdriver. Okay, so they just have a way because we don't care. This is what you got to do. Get it done. Okay, so whether you're a leader or a team member, can you imagine how stressful that can be? Okay, how you affect your employees, your team, if you're a leader, and if you're a team member, how stressful is it for you? How many times you've been through this and you just feel like you just want to quit, or you don't even want to give enough effort to continue working for that company, right? Because you got to remember, people don't leave because of the job; they usually leave because of the leader. Okay, next one. Credit hogs. Folks with this blind spot wants all the glory and none of the blame. Okay? Folks with this blind spot find it very hard to empower and acknowledge. Extreme Owners talks about how each Navy SEAL, okay, I'm sorry, Extreme Owners is a book, right? And talks about how each Navy SEAL will identify any points where they have caused a mission or a training to go wrong. So I think most of us, if you can, type in yes, if you know what a Navy SEAL is. Nobody? Okay. Navy SEALs is a special military army force, right? Okay, thank you guys, Jimmy. Right, so Navy SEALs is a very highly professional military armed forces. Okay, their small arms training is budget is as much as the whole U.S. Army's budget. Okay, so that's how hard they train, and even afterwards, after their training, they maintain, okay, their extreme ownership, regardless of everything they do, right? They give credit when credit's due, okay? And they never accept the credit. They always give the credit to other people, okay? And they never stop learning. They only stop blaming. So you can imagine someone with that kind of professionalism, that level of professionalism, okay? Even they are continuing to learn and continue to give credit to others. They don't need to boast about how good they are. They know. All right. Blind spots are about your market. Now, whether you're a team leader or entrepreneur, this is very important to us. Okay. And believe it or not, again, this is something that I have experienced personally as well. Okay. Um, I have seen other companies experience the same thing when they're not clear about their market. And a lot of it has to do with blind spots. The first one is cling to the status quo, right? Many leaders fear change. Whatever the reason, it could be they don't want to put in an extra effort to change. They're afraid they may have to learn new things. Okay, they may have to work harder, work later. Okay, but they want to protect the legacy and the revenue streams, or are uncertain of their own role in this newly defined organization, right? These leaders are unlikely to accurately assess market change and new and evolving customer demands, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, make sure you're not clinging to your status quo. Everything's good. I notice a lot of times, like in China, I would talk to a business person, and when I would ask them, I said, "Well, listen, things are changing now in China. There's not as much corruption around. Uh, things aren't that easy. It's not more the connection, but it's more what you know." And basically, he just said, "Well, yeah, if it doesn't work, I'll just close up and I'll just think of something else to do." Okay. So basically, they don't want to change with times, and they just want to stick to what they have now. It's doing good. They're not worried about it until something happens. Okay. Underestimating your competitors. Wow. Okay. So a lot of times we think we got the best product, right? It's a similar to the flaws above, the first point, but these leaders are focused solely on internal issues and prior success, right? So they think, okay, whatever we got, it's going good, just leave it alone, okay? But you're not looking at what your competitors are doing, right? You're not checking out what's going on in the market. So everybody can be like, you can be a digital engineer, right? Social media. But when there's new technology coming out and other people are using it and you're not, well, then you're going to be left behind. Okay. Next one, being overconfident, right? Part of the leader's job is to present the glass as being half full and to paint an optimistic future for their followers. But taken to an extreme, this is important, right? These leaders don't see the reality of the situation, and they fail to allocate the time or the resources necessary to be able to reach their goals or be more competitive against their uh, market, right? Now, what causes some of these blind spots? some of them we mentioned earlier about, being young and past success, right? So a lot of times is from the upbringing, right? I think as most of us are Asian here, okay, we have a lot of upbringing from our parents. Okay, some of us may say that, well, you have to do this, you have to do this, you should do this, you should do this, and it becomes our personality, right? So basically, a lot of it may come from our upbringing, right? Now, upbringing is one thing. When we have old and new experiences, right? Some of them can be positive, right? Some of them are negative, right? But being these old experiences, we cannot accept new ideas, right? Now, if they're positive, great. But we also need to be able to have a good balance, or else we wind up being too positive and we start treating everything like a nail again, right? We start acting like a hammer. And he says, well, this worked last time in this situation. Let's try this again, right? So we have to be careful and be aware of that. When it comes down to negative, of course, if we're having bad attitudes from old experiences, then of course we need to overcome those, right? So next one. All right, so a lot of times we have a belief about a situation, something again that we've been through. But I want to share something that maybe some of you laugh at now, and I laugh at it now. Um, uh, so recently I had a leak in my faucet, and for about months I've been trying to get the lever off, and I couldn't. For the life of me, I couldn't. I didn't want to call a plumber. It was during MCO, so I didn't want to get a plumber. Uh, and finally, I called a plumber, and he took it off, no problems. We bought the internal part that was leaking, supposedly leaking, and it came out to 380 ringgit. Okay, and then so we installed it, put it on, and when we turned the water back on, it was still leaking. And I said, "What the heck?" And so what happened was it wasn't that part that was leaking; it was the side pipe that was leaking. So all he had to do was tighten it, and it stopped the leak. Long story short, I spent 380 ringgit for nothing. Okay, and the reason why I wanted to change it because I couldn't stand watching watching the water leak. Okay, and my upbringing was water leaking meant money leaking away, right? Lao soya, right? I don't know if a lot of you maybe not Chinese, but it means like you're losing water, and which other means like you're losing finances. And then I said, oh man, I gotta get this fixed. I gotta get it fixed. Anyway, 380, it wasn't the problem. Okay. And so, that's a belief about a situation. But the funny part, my belief was that I thought I was losing water. But then after that, somehow we got 2,000 ringgit in our bank account. My wife still doesn't know where it came from. Okay. And I said, see, because we fixed the leak, we got an extra 2,000 ringgit. And to this day, we don't know where that money came from. Okay. Yeah, I know it's funny. It's funny. But this is some belief system that I had, right? Whether it's superstition or a particular mindset. Okay. But this is what people have. So if you're working for someone like me, and if I see that you're always spilling water, I might not be happy about you. Okay. Next one. Surrounded by naysayers. Okay. So when we hear naysayers, a lot of times it's because people can tell you a lot of times, right? They say, well, hey, bro, sis, you're very strong when you talk, okay? And you go, no, 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 come on, man, that's your imagination, right? And then it gets to a point when they keep on reminding you, say, listen, you offended the client before, right? Did you notice that? No, really? No, I thought we got along well. And basically, people get to a point where they just say they give up, and they say, yeah, 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 whatever you say, okay, fine, fine. Okay, I don't know if this happened to anyone before, but or maybe you've seen it happen before. You just get to the point where you say, oh, forget about it. All right. And a very, very good example is recently in the US, we had the elections, right? And if you look at it, right now, Trump still believes he won. Now, I'm not advocating anything here. I'm just saying, right? But the fact is, the aide of Donald Trump, including his chief of staff, okay, has not attempted to bring up Trump's to terms of what's happening. Okay, they're not saying, okay, yo, I think you lost, Donald, right? Now, in fact, they keep on feeding his baseless claims that the election was stolen from him, right? And to this day, they don't. Well, maybe things have changed a little bit that he's willing to concede. But even his own people. Now, you guys probably read about Donald Trump. You've seen him, and can you imagine um, having a leader like him telling you what to do and not listen to you, and you're afraid. You're like the messenger. You're afraid that he's going to shoot the messenger. Okay, so these are what happens when you're surrounded by naysayers. So basically, just go, okay, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, whatever. And just when you leave the meeting, you're looking at all your other team members going, or maybe your team members are leaving the meeting going, there he goes again. There she goes again. Okay. So do you understand? So surrounded by naysayers, right? And to give you an idea of how this all falls into play, I want to ask you a question. Is it okay if we take a trip into your brain now? Is that okay? If that's okay, can you guys just give me a Y for a yes? Oh, okay. All right, great. Uh-oh. You sure you guys want to do this? You may not like what you see. All right, here we go. This is how basically our brain works. Okay? So if you notice my mouse here, these are what we call the external events. These are things that we capture with our five senses, from our sight, our hearing, our touch, our smell, okay, and our eyesight. We see things, right? Now, if you guys can see here, we have items that we filter. We either delete, we generalize, okay? We uh, um, we ignore a lot of things. When we generalize, we just say, okay, well, yeah, he's like that. She's like that. Oh, they're like that. Oh, that's the way it is. So we just generalize it, right? But we don't really think it through. Okay. Also, like we distort things, right? It can't be. It shouldn't be. No, no way. No, no one could be that mean, right? No, I'm sure he didn't mean it that way. And all this happens so fast in our subconscious, we basically react. Okay. And as you can see here, that's how we get our behavior. Okay. So by going through all our mindsets, by viewing all this stuff, okay, we create our own behavior. It could be anything. It can be if we're heartbroken, we never want to meet a girl or a boy again because it hurts so hard, right? So that's how our brain works, and it happens so fast. Okay, and it comes out in the thought, then it comes out in the physical form, which will be a meaning of a situation, causing a feeling of the situation, then causing a physical action called our behavior. So sometimes what we want to do to catch ourselves, we need to be able to slow down, look at the situation, right? If no one else is going to tell us about our blind spots and we can't see them because it's a blind spot, then sometimes we have to have self-awareness. All right. So now we're going to move into some of the costs in a business regarding blind spots. Okay. Now, costs of blind spots will vary from business to business, right? From department to department. But one thing is for sure, if your leaders, if your people don't have their blind spots in check, you will lose for sure. Now, a study was conducted on 7,000 employees and 486 companies from July 2010 through January 2013. Okay. And two authors named Zest and Landis, okay, they tracked the stock performance of these 486 companies. And they found two things in common amongst the low performing companies. Okay. In low performance companies, 20%, okay, had blind spots. But the interesting part is lack of awareness contains 79% of these low performers. So 79% of employees with low performing companies had very low self-awareness. Okay. In fact, in every case, companies whose employees had a high self-awareness consistently outperform the ones with the low self-awareness. So now imagine if you had your own business. I think most of us do. Okay. So as an entrepreneur, okay, do you have any blind spots regarding your business, your leadership abilities, regarding your team or your customer? Give me a yes if you guys are still with me here. Great. All right, great. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Annie, Jimmy. Thank you. Okay. So if you notice, right, how blind spots can affect us, right? So besides labeling them, people with these kind of blind spots that you have to work with, you have to live with, sometimes you say, ah, my brother's a jerk. He's an A whatever, right? Can you see why correcting blind spots can affect you, your relationship, as well as work? Anybody? Question. So far, can we see how blind spots can affect us? Awesome. Hey, Andrea. Thank you, Andrea. Jimmy, Annie, thank you. That's right. So why does it matter whether you're a seasoned leader, a new leader, or an entrepreneur? Personal growth. Okay. Correcting our blind spots is a necessary part of our personal growth. Okay, and the growth of your people. Right. By identifying our blind spots and understanding them, heighten our next item, self-awareness. Right. We just saw that 79% of companies that had low self-awareness, they perform poorly. Okay. When we develop a greater self-awareness, we create a greater self-mastery. Okay. With self-mastery, we become more aligned with our higher self, which means greater self-mastery. And why is this important? Can anybody just take a guess? Why would this be important? And I'm very open. I might even use it next time. Can anybody type in, why is this important? Take your time. If you want to unmute yourself, please go right ahead. Okay, so because we can live freely, all right. You open up your mind to learn things which you never knew you didn't know. Thank you, Joyce. Okay, so yes, but one thing is really important that we don't realize besides our personal growth is no one pays for mediocre. Who wants to invest in a person who is very difficult to work with? Okay, who wants to work with people who invest in a company that they feel that the individual doesn't have anything to participate with except their own ideas? All right. So would you invest in something that in a company where you see the leader or the partner is not open to any change or not open to your ideas, right? Or not open to what's going on in the market, right? So if you're going to be, lack of a better word, and half-ass about things, who's going to want to work with you, right? Thank you, Patrick. Okay, so what we're going to move now next to is to how can we rectify this? How can we pay more attention to our blind spots? Well, the thing is that what is it that with your friends and colleagues and relatives always say to you, all right? What do friends and colleagues and things, what do they complain about the most of you, right? So um, maybe they say like, well, hey, you always say you do, but you don't, right? You can't stand being wrong. You always want to have the last say. I don't know if you know people like that, but I know a lot of people who always have to have the last say. And why don't you go, okay, and they'll come back up and say, but and he said, okay, yeah, I hear you, and I agree. And they'll come back and go, well, but like last time, I got it, right? Or some people would say you're very confrontational, right? So when somebody gives you any idea, gives you any input, okay, and you will go back and, wait, what are you talking about? Get out of here, right? You get very offensive, right? And your comments are mean. I remember when I was younger, I used to have comments that I thought were funny, but little beknownst to me, it was offending some of the girls that I was talking to. And he goes, "Why would he say that? Why is he's so mean?" And I said, "Really? I thought it was funny, right?" And then you joke about everything. You can't be serious. And when people come back to me and they say the same thing, right? When you confront them with this, they go, "No, I don't. No, I'm not. Really? No." Right? They can't see it. So what we want to do is we have to remember, right? Self-awareness minus ego equals the first step to overcoming our blind spots. On your screen, sorry. So on your screen here is what I call a blind spot assessor. And basically, 5 being the highest, okay, that means you're happy with them, and 1 being the lowest that you're not happy. So here, I've put in a couple of items that I thought were some major blind spots of people. And so basically, what you want to do is, if you want to be able to, if you're bold enough, okay, you can take this blind spot and have some people assess you. So let's say you're a team leader, you're a manager, you can take this blind spot and you can fill this in whatever you think that people want you to work on. Or maybe you could have them fill it in. And basically, they can score you from here to there, right? So 5 being you're good at it, from 1 being you're not very good at it, right? You're very poor and there's something needs to be improved on there. So these are certain things. So let's say one of them is that communication, right? You're not clear enough, right? You don't transfer information correctly, or it's always incomplete, right? You always tell us what to do. You don't tell us what the ultimate goal is. So if this is something that you're very low in, then it's something you have to be wary about, okay? When you talk to people and say, oh, okay, after the meeting, after having a one-on-one with someone, you can ask them. So do you understand what I'm saying here? Is this clear? Do you know what our ultimate goal is? Right? So you just have to reaffirm and not assume that you've communicated clearly. All right? So one of these things, it could be anything here, and basically you just give it, even your child, right? So if your child, you can tell your child, listen, is mommy or daddy a good mommy and daddy? Is mommy and daddy kind? Is mommy and daddy honest? Whatever, right? Is mommy and daddy fun, right? And let them score you. And it's good for children to see that because they see that you're willing to change, yeah, you're open for criticism, and especially for team members. When team members see that you are willing to be able open to change, it puts a lot of onus on them as well. That if the leader can change, then they should be owning up to their responsibilities as well. Okay, can you see? Does that make sense to you guys? Do me a favor, if you could type a yes, just to let me know that I'm communicating clearly. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Joyce. Simon, thank you. Okay, Daniel, thank you. Andrew, hey, Andrew, how you doing? Thank you very much, guys. Okay, now this is from within our teams, right? This is from person to person, right? So we want to be able to improve ourselves. We want to be able to be a better leader, a better manager, have a happier team, have better relationships with our friends, our family, okay, our business partners, right? I mean, this would be great for your customer, right? If you were able to be honest and show the customer that, hey, I'm willing to change. I want to improve my services to you. Please fill out this blind spot assessor and tell me, where am I lacking? Okay. Can you imagine how your client or customer would feel if they say, wow, you got guts, but they would appreciate the fact that you are willing to change, right? Uh, I hope that makes sense so far. And and a lot of people may feel that they why would you want to show your weakness? Why would you want to admit your weakness? Well, truthfully, admitting your weaknesses, facing your weaknesses, it actually takes guts, okay, to put yourself out there, whether as a leader, as a company, as a parent, right? So by doing that, your clients will look like, wow, okay, this guy is willing to change for me, and I appreciate that, right? And so we want to treat. So the next one, right? If we want to look at for the market, right? I'm sure most of us heard about this, right? Is the SWOT assessment. Okay. So basically, to understand your market, so to get feedback from your market, right? You want to be able to find out what some of your strengths are as a company. You want to find some of your weaknesses. Okay. What opportunities do you have, especially during now? Okay, during this COVID. So if you're in the medical industry or medical sector, so there's a lot of opportunities there for you, right? Okay, and maybe for threats. Okay, so because of COVID, right? A lot of things are changing. So you can imagine if you're a restaurant, okay, and so if you did a SWOT assessment now, right now you can only do delivery, or you can have a minimum people per table, right? So can you imagine what kind of threat you're facing now? And now you have everybody in the industry doing the same thing you're doing, okay? So you have different assessments for different things, okay? But these are also blind spots that you may not see, right? What are your strengths? Do you know what your strengths are in your business, right? Do you know what your weaknesses are, right? So remember, self-awareness, okay, is very important, okay? Because if you can remember one thing from today's webinar, it should be this. The success of your business isn't according to your dream, okay? It's according to your dream, your team, right? So if you have good self-awareness, your team has good self-awareness, right? You are aware of your clients' needs. You're aware of the market needs. You're aware of your team members' needs, okay? Then they will grow your business. You can have the best dream in the world. You have the best plan. But if your people are not aligned with you, they don't trust you as a leader, they have a bad relationship with you, okay? Your dream is not going to come true. You're going to have to find someone, not because they would agree with you all the time, because you may be wrong, okay? But you have to find a team and that you will listen to and trust them, okay? So please remember, the success of your business is not according to your dream, it's according to your team. So remember, folks, right? You only get one first impression, right? And if you have a challenge about facing your blind spots, that's a blind spot, okay? And so here, I want to share with you, okay? And right now, I don't know what the time is, and maybe I've gone on too long. Sorry about that. I want to say thank you for your time today. And if you like, here is the link to get a free assessor that you can use. It's blank. You fill it in yourself, and or you can have someone else fill it in to tell you what are some of our blind spots and scores from that. Okay, guys? Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Coach D. I put the a link in the chat, and we'll also send this link out and Coach D's contact info in the email that we'll send out within 24 hours together with the recording of this session. And if you have questions, I think Coach D would welcome some questions right now. And yeah, and you can either type it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and just ask the question live. Now we'll take questions depending on how many questions we have. Before we end the session later, what I'm going to have everyone do is we're going to take a group picture. I'll take the screenshots and we'll send that out as well. Does anybody have any questions right now?
You're welcome, Annie. You're welcome, Christian.
I have a question. Maybe I'll start to get the ball rolling with that, Coach D. You know, when you started the session, earlier, you mentioned something interesting, and it was feeding in my mind for a little bit. You said you had closed down 3.5 or 3.5 businesses. Can you explain that a little bit?
Okay, so what part you didn't understand? The 3.5?
The 3.5, yeah.
Okay, the reason I mentioned 3.5 because one of the 0.5 wasn't actually a business. It was more like okay. So what basically it was is that we invested in a very expensive dog. Okay?
A door or a dog? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. A dog.
Oh, dog.
D-O-G.
Okay. I was saying, well, how would you be able to invest in a door? All right.
And basically, this dog was we imported it from Germany, and basically we just bred it.
Okay.
Okay. So we would have other owners with a pure breed of German Shepherds, and we would basically breed our dogs. So it wasn't 100% business per se. It was more like half a business. And the other three businesses were restaurants. I had like 2 restaurants. I had some property. I had one company that we were selling law enforcement equipment. Basically, tracking devices, infrared, bulletproof vests, and riot gear, tear gas.
Okay. During this time, maybe we don't realize it, but during these, chaotic pandemic, economic chaos, and before I get into that question, Frank has a question.
Yeah.
It says, could you share what blind spot you have learned from your previous failed businesses so we can learn from it as well? That's a tough question, yeah, Frank.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. I appreciate that. Well, actually, off my head, I can see 2. Number 1, I was, how do you say, actually maybe 3. Okay, one of them off my head was I was insecure. Okay, I wanted to hoard everything. I wanted everything to be within my control, and I didn't want people to. I didn't want to give any power or concede any power to other people. I want everything to go through me, which didn't give my team enough trust. Okay, and so with that, a lot of people were unhappy about that. The second one would be I was overconfident, not aware of the market situation at the time. Okay, so like one of the restaurants I opened up, and like after we opened up after 8 months, across the street there's another restaurant who opened and sell the same food that I had. Okay, and then another one opened up on the other side of my restaurant. So I didn't realize it, and I just kept the thing going. And eventually, of course, we started losing money. And then first we started breaking even, then we started losing money, and this is something that I should have been aware of, and I should have done something about. Okay, so does that help you? Does that answer your question, Patrick?
Frank, yeah. I'm sorry, is it Patrick or Frank?
Frank, no, it's Frank.
Yeah, okay.
Does that answer your question, Frank?
Yes, very, very clear and very inspiring.
Joyce, you look like you have a question.
Yeah, I do. I was thinking of typing it, but I don't think it is actually clear. So, do you know, Dee, you gave us like a very good way of allowing us to have feedback about our blind spot where we might not be aware. But as Asians, it's in the Asian culture that there's always this fear about being reprimanded or something. So, how sure are you that the feedback that is given to your subordinates, your team, to tell about what they are uncomfortable with you or in terms of the ranking, that they would be really giving you the sincere input? Do you do a unanimous feedback or how?
That's a great question, Joyce. And you're right. And this isn't just happening this is not a problem in only Asian companies. This is whether you're Western company or Asian companies. I think when you have, as a leader, when you try to get some feedback regarding you, you will get a lot of negative positives. Okay. So you will get a lot of if people know who's giving this assessment, a lot of times they're afraid to give the honest truth because they feel it may affect their position in the company. So a lot of times when doing assessments, um, we do it anonymously, which will make other people feel much more comfortable giving an honest assessment. So regardless of your Asian company or Western company or anonymous always works best.
Awesome.
Thanks, Dee.
You're welcome, Joyce.
Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, if not, I'll ask the final question for now. But if you have questions after this, please feel free to ask your question. Coach, the economic pandemic, the chaos, the challenges, the stress, the headaches we're having now. What can we do if, let's say, as human beings, we, our emotions are up and down. Some days, I think everyone, kind of feels this. Some days you're like, oh, damn. Some days it's like, oh, I'm the king of the world, right? So, the ups and downs to me is kind of like too extreme. How do we bring it more back in line with, you see, to me, I'm a very big believer and practitioner of consistency. I personally do not like the damn, I feel down today. Man, I'm excited, top of the world today. How do we get back to a more consistent kind of emotion or thinking?
Okay, so basically, if I hear you correctly, we're talking about having a more balance.
I don't know if balance is the right word. Getting more away from the two extremes of, damn, I feel like crap today, and man, I'm the king of the world, and bringing it more back into a more consistent, so that we can take action every day.
Okay.
Or if some of the audience here, they want to be at the top of the world every day, I mean, perfectly fine. But how I think the key is, how do we go from, damn, I'm like down here, and bring it up more? I think, Frank, you like that question, right?
and great question, Chris, and thank you. And I think over here, it's important that we have self-awareness. Okay, so this is the point. So when we're feeling really, now, unless it's a medical issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we want to do is we want to ask ourselves, why am I feeling this way?
Okay.
What happened? Like, what happened when I woke up? Is it maybe we haven't eaten yet? Our blood sugar is low? Or it's raining outside. Maybe we have plans. So it can vary. The very reasons can vary from why we're feeling so low and why we're feeling so high. So number one, we have to make sure it's not a medical issue. Number two, we want to find out that, is there some kind of stress in the background that's causing us that we're not realizing? So let's say, for instance, you have to do a webinar this morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're nervous, okay? And maybe you're seeing like, oh, this is not working right. This is not, and you're getting off it. So you kind of build it. Stop, breathe. Okay, take a moment. Relax. Okay, just relax. Right? And if your energy is low, sometimes just warming up, moving your body up and down, just walking or doing some jumping jacks, it will help you to kind of get a little bit more grounded, let's say.
Okay.
What,
Okay.
Did I answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, definitely. And I also wanted to mention something. I wanted to acknowledge you, Coach D. For those that don't really know, this is, I believe that this is Coach D's first ever webinar session as a presenter or a host. So he's no longer a webinar virgin. All right. So Awesome. Does anybody have any other questions for Coach D today? Okay, while you're thinking about that, I'll mention a couple things. We have been recording this whole session. I will stop the recording in probably about 30 to 45 seconds. I'll also stop the live stream in about 30 to 45 seconds. I will mention that we are recording this. We will get it sent out to you in the next within the next 24 hours. I will also share Coach D's contact information. I'll also put the link that he shared earlier. And if you click that link, you'll actually get your own. I believe, Coach D, that you actually get your very own link to be able to download the blind spot assessment. Okay, so if there are no additional questions, I'm going to ask everybody to show your video. We want to look at all your beautiful faces. All right. And I would like to take a couple screenshots, and we'll share this with everyone as well.
I want to welcome all my Exodus members out there. Thank you guys for your support.
Okay, I'm going to take the first picture right now. Everybody can look normal and serious. I love when I say serious and everybody smiles more. So I'm going to take a couple more. Okay. Okay, now I know that everyone looks wonderful with your smile. Let's outdo ourselves with the smile so that when anyone looks at this picture, they're going to go, damn, this is a bunch of successful, cheerful, charismatic audience today. Everyone give me the biggest smile that you can on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Okay, we're going to take one final picture. We're going to do something wacky. I know it's, maybe you're alone in your room, or maybe you're in a room with other people watching you. And if you go wacky, they're going to go, man, what is Joyce doing? What is Anne doing by herself looking like that? All right. So on the count of 3, I want you to get wacky. It can be your face. It can be your gestures, your hands. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh my, you guys are wacky. I'm going to take one more. Okay, awesome. I'm going to stop the recording now.